Hey everybody, this is Sunflower, and I'm here to talk about Sony's press conference. Well, where to begin? With Microsoft's press conference, we were definitely a little bit let down. We were hoping for Sony to pick up some of the slack. So they start out with Quantic Dream coming out. The director, David Cage, comes out and talks about having Ellen Page as the actor in this new game called Beyond, which looks an awful lot like Heavy Rain and has this Ellen Page character sitting in an office or not really interrogation room, but a police officer's area, and the police officer looked just like Paco from Heavy Rain. So if you remember Heavy Rain, you'll recognize that police officer. And he just basically complained to her, and then some crazy things happened. SWAT people showed up. Nothing too great. I do not have high hopes for this because Heavy Rain did not have much game attached to it. It was more of a cinema, so it looks like it'd be fun to watch, but fun to play? I don't know. After that, they talked about the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale and showed off some gameplay. And there were a lot of people saying, oh, no, it's not like Smash Brothers. I'll be damned. It looked just like Smash Brothers. I don't know what planet you're from. It looked like Smash Brothers to me. In fact, Sony even tagged their own video as, with Smash Brothers tags. So what are you going to get from there? They do have some interesting characters, though. I will give them that. It'll be neat to see Nathan Drake and Big Daddy and all these others show up. But at the same time, it ain't Smash Brothers. Not my thing. Anyway, they also mentioned that it's going to have crossplay with the Vita versions, which means if you have a Vita and another copy of the game, you can play instead of using a controller on the same screen. So that's great. It's really it's a nice gesture, but I can't help but think it's kind of a waste. That's just my own personal thought. Now, speaking of the Vita, they did do plenty of time with it. They talk about it getting PlayStation 1 games on it, finally, which they had said should have been with the launch of the system, but was not. And people clapped because now they can play Final Fantasy VII on their Vita instead of their PSP or PS3, which they probably already own it for. Whatever. They talked about Call of Duty coming to the Vita called Black Ops Declassified. They called it a AAA title, but I'll have to see more of it to believe it. And also Assassin's Creed Vita has a new protagonist, a female, and it has basically what it does is it can sync with your PS3 to unlock in-game rewards for the actual Assassin's Creed. You can get Connor's Tomahawk, a character skin, a multiplayer character, and some upgrades for like an item pouch. So not really mind-blowing stuff, but it is nice to see. They're also talking about an Assassin's Creed Vita bundle that is coming with a 4 gig card, which means something useless. Not really sure why they didn't get something larger on there, but that's where they make a lot of their money, is from their memory cards. Then they showed off some Assassin's Creed 3 boat gameplay. Now, the boat stuff, and you know what? Boat's not the right word. I should be saying ship. It's ship combat. It looked very scripted, but at the same time, it also looked very awesome. It's very cool to control your own boat and walk around it. Seeing those cannons go off, they're using chain shots, things like that. Very cool stuff to see from these ships. But unfortunately, that's probably just going to be a footnote in Assassin's Creed 3 and not a very substantial mode. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more. They also mentioned that Assassin's Creed 3 will be a system bundle that will include all the DLC as well, which is kind of neat. Then they had somebody from Far Cry 3, the game's director, on stage to go through with a few other people some of the co-op mode for Far Cry 3, and it looked just fine. It didn't look like anything insane that I really had to play, but they did mention that there will be 4-player co-op in its own special, campaign. So it's not going to be the single-player game that you can have a friend join, which is kind of a bummer, but it is nice to see them throwing a bone to the cooperative fans out there. After that, I really don't know how to come out and say this easily. They wasted probably a half hour of our time on something called Wonder Book. Ooh, it's like a special book for the Vita that you can, and not just the Vita, it's also the PS3. You can hold a book in front of the camera and it will display things on it. Not unlike the old Eye of Judgment cards for the PSP, where you would put a card in front of your iToy, it would scan it and do a little 3D thing on the screen like it's, you're actually holding it. Reality, right? But this was... It ran far too long. It had some really unfortunate technical difficulties when this woman was trying to draw a 4 with her wand, because it's a big Pottermore thing that they're talking about, all this Harry Potter garbage that people love. It's a cool idea to put out flames on a book with your hands, but at the same time, I really don't see the appeal at this point. When you're using tactile feedback like that, there's a real big disconnect when there's something going on the screen and something you're pretending to do in your hands, and it just doesn't feel right to me. Now, that's only my own personal opinion. I could be very, very wrong about this and what everyone else thinks. But Wonderbook seriously looked like quite a bit of a bust to me. It was impressive technology, but at the same time, I don't think there's much of a market for it. Anyway, moving on, and it was called the Book of Spells, by the way. Just Harry Potter universe stuff. After that, they tried to get my attention back with a God of War Ascension demo that they played through, and honestly, it looked like the same old God of War stuff, which is fine if you like it, but if you're getting tired of it, this is not going to give you anything new. Then after that, they closed out the show with a gameplay video of The Last of Us, which looked nice, but it also looked really slow and a little unusual. People were cheering for a 13-year-old girl throwing a brick in a guy's face and killing men. I'm not really sure what to think about the audience, but it definitely looks interesting, but I'm approaching it with a bit of hesitation because it also looks like a very extended escort mission, and I'm not a big fan of escort missions, and I don't think very many people are, so we'll have to see what happens with The Last of Us. And then the conference was over, so that's your Sony conference. Now you're up to speed.